Good morning. It's Saturday, December 14, and would you look at the top of that toolbox? I've seen that like 3 times in my lifetime. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I forgot all about the rubber mat. I must have used a piece of rubber mat for something. I don't know why that doesn't fit across the whole thing. Oh gosh. Looks like it's going to be an absolutely wonderful, clear, dry day. So, I'm getting over the flu and I feel like shit. My back hurts. I'm getting muscle spasms. So, I'm going to start out easy. What I'd like to do, I would like to do 2 things today. I would like to figure out what I'm going to paint this with. Wow, that's kind of rough right there. All right, and because the finish paint, I wanted to match the bus with this stuff. So I have left over of this paint, and I've got plenty of primer left over too. Actually, I don't know where the heck my paint and primer. Oh, there was the paint right there. Yep, it's still liquid. And I used the gas can for the primer. When I bought that primer, it was a 5-gallon pail with the kind of lid that you pry the tangs around the perimeter and you take the whole lid off. I think it might have had pour spouts, but it just didn't seem like it was going to work for me to give it a good mix. So I bought this paint can, and I've been storing the paint in there. It makes it easy to mix the paint up. You can grab it by the handles and shake the shit out of it. And I got an extra gallon of white paint that I thought I was going to use for something. It's stuff I bought at Sherwin-Williams. AIC, Advanced Industrial Coatings. So, it's regular car automobile paint. Wow, look at that, a dead roach. The best kind. Alright, so I'm going to get a piece of oak from somewhere. Probably gave me a scrap piece of wood from up there. And I'm going to try that primer, because that primer doesn't say anything on the label about using it on wood. Okay, so it looks like it's working perfectly fine. So I did 3 different tests here, sort of. I put the paint on kind of medium thick here, kind of heavy thick here, and then really thin on this one. And then I also painted the end grain, which soaked right in, which I expected. We're going to let this thing dry. And of course I just used some bullshit acid brush as a brush, so don't have really high expectations on the finish. So we're going to let that cure up. Maybe I'll actually even put it out in the sun over here on my grapevine. This is normally where I hang up my little things that have to dry. Right there. Alright, that's stable enough. Kind of breezy, but ain't going anywhere. One of these days I'm going to take down these ropes from these trees. They've been up since the hurricane. Alright, with that curing, I'm going to give that probably a couple hours, I guess. Then I'm going to try to sand it and maybe give it a second coat. See how it fills the wood. I think that's just perfectly good paint to use on wood. It actually just painted like regular old paint. I don't know why it doesn't specify wood in the literature that came with it. So now what we're going to do is put the door back on the bus again, since we've got it all the edges on the door all rounded off. And we're going to use our new door seals that we got at Home Depot. I had to buy extra long door seals. They're not standard height door seals. The door is 88 inches tall. These are 6'8". What's that? 72. These are 80-inch tall doors. So the normal length door seal wasn't long enough. So that was a whole fiasco. I had to order them on Home Depot, and then they arrived damaged, so I had to order them again. Yeah, geez. Alright, so here's the door. I only got a couple of stills of it in my last video. Ran the router over it. I mean, it really changed the personality of this thing a lot. All the corners are rounded off. All the seams are leveled. As best as I can anyway. So one of my subscribers asked how much does the door weigh. I just went and weighed it. It's 51.8 pounds, which I think is really not that heavy for a exterior door, solid wood kind of door. It is hollow down in this square with just some foam insulation in there. And it's going to weigh more when I put the glass in it, so it'll be a little more than 60-pound door, I guess, which is, I think, a reasonable weight. So anyway, we're going to put the hinges on and hang the door. And now that we're using the hinge pins to install and remove the door, it's a lot easier than lining up the screws to do that. So we're going to do that first. Looks like that's the screws. And I'll have to put the doorknob on. Okay. Alright, so we got the door in. Yeah, I could have sworn that it wasn't set quite this way the last time. So down here at the bottom, we're kind of close. Looks like it's less than 1/8 of an inch down there, and then it kind of straightens out going up, and it's a little tighter at the top. And then also, it looks like I got a little bit more of a gap on this side than I should. Just went and got my level to use as a straight edge. I checked this a minute ago. So we're a little bit there's a little bit of a, what do you call it? A hollow in this. And probably a little could be taken off the top and a little off the bottom. Crap, man. I wasn't thinking I was going to have to do any of that. That's a pain in the butt. Alright, and then I checked the door. The door is absolutely perfect. I mean, you could hear it when this goes up on there. It's dead right on straight. It's actually a little bit loose at the top. I did take a little skim cut off the door. Yeah, I don't like that. You know, you add the thickness of some paint on there, right? And a little bit of swelling or something, and then you got to rub. I I can make up for it if I bend the hinges. Bending the hinges is very easy. I just take the hinge off, stick it in the vise, my milling machine vise, with something up in there, and squeeze the vise, and I can very accurately bend the hinge. So if I could move the bottom over just a little bit, maybe. I'll put a pencil line on here. So from like here down, I got to go from 0 to like a 16th down there. This is still removable. It's going to stay that way too. These are going to stay removable in case something comes up. Alright, so I'll put a pencil line on that guy. I don't know where my pencil is. But my main thing is I want to get my door seals figured out. So now that I have them, I'm going to install the door seals and figure out how tight do I want this door to be. And then I can finish all that. And by then, my paint test may be done. And maybe by today I'll get some paint on this thing. I'm getting ready to cut the door seal. I was just over at the bus sizing it up and also checking which way do I want this to go. Let me show you what I mean. So on all the doors in my house, the top piece goes the full width and the sides come up to meet it. Alright. Same with that door, and it's also the same with my front door. So no sense in me trying to overthink the thing. So I'm going to cut this length of this guy about 3/4 of an inch longer than I need, because I don't know exactly how close this end piece is going to come to the top where the other seal meets. I know it's 5/8 thick wood up there, but I'm not going to go exact, so we're going to overshoot this thing. And by the way, if you guys want to see what seals I got, these are from Home Depot. Frost King DS8 Bravo. They're 8 feet long. So I'm just going to get a pair of scissors and cut this thing off and give it a test fit. Alright, so I can't clamp it down there because I can't get the clamp around to the back side of anything, so I'm using just a little stick in here wedged in to hold it. I mean, it doesn't do much, but it's something. I've got this clamped here, and I got that clamped up there, and you can see how this piece doesn't go all the way to the top, because the top piece of wood has got to go across there, and that's why I had some uncertainty on how long I needed to cut this. And I just cut it with a regular pair of scissors. It was absolutely nothing to it. I'm going to try to get this thing fitted in there, and we're going to determine how much of a squeeze we're going to have on this seal. Alright, piece of cake. It slipped right in there. So the areas where the clamps are, it took a firm amount of pressure on the back side here. Where's my hand? To push that all the way up in there flush. If you look close, sorry, right here at the final depth, if you will, there's an extra piece of plastic right there. So I was making sure that I got that all the way up in there until that last piece touched. All right, and I mean, it looks great, right? So now we're gonna adjust with the clamps how much squeeze we're gonna put on this by repositioning here with the door in its latch. And once we get that figured out, then we'll be able to sink a couple screws in here to hold it and be on our way to getting all these things finally installed. And then we've got to scribe them on their back side, okay, because they're bigger than than the length of the door jamb. And we don't want to have this. We want this to all to be equal. So that's what we're doing right now. All right, so right now I've got it a 3/8 Allen wrench here as a measuring, and we're right at 3/8 of an inch space between the door and the wood. Now down here we're a little wider because I really have nothing to clamp it. Here we're actually a hair under 3/8. And I measured it up on the top and it's 3/8, so I think, I mean, that's got a nice feel to it. I think I could go a little tighter than that. Plus, you know, I have to be concerned about over time, this seal is going to take a set and it's not going to be as tight. So I have to be sensitive to that. Let's go take a look at my house door. Oh, you know what? I should bring my 3/8 Allen wrench. And my front door is kind of loose. So I come over here. A little on the loose side. I've got an automatic door closer, which I absolutely love these things. They're cheap, but they work great. So let's see. Yeah, we're a little bit, we're just a little bit looser than 3/8. I mean, it's really, really close to 3/8. So, this thing's been here for years. And it looks to be the same stuff. There's a brand name there, it looks like. What is that? Glon, Qlon. So it's a different brand. So we're flush here. So the thing is, if I put slotted holes in that wood to make those door stops adjustable, it's just not going to work, man. I'll have to use flathead or round head screws, and then this back edge is gonna, if it gets an adjustment, it's gonna change its place. And I'm also concerned about it slipping if you slam the door really hard. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go tighter than that, because that's, yeah. I'm gonna go, I think 5/16 might be too tight. But I'm gonna do some experimenting, and I'm gonna leave the door shut for a while because I think it's already gotten looser just for the few minutes that it's sat here. I'm probably gonna end up going with 5/16. And the reason why I'm taking a measurement is when it comes to installing this, once I find out how much squeeze I want, I'm going to remove the seal, close the door, and I'm going to make myself, wooden, some kind of a wooden piece to fit in there that's the exact thickness that I want, and then I'm going to drill my hole. All right, so here's a 5/16 of an inch squeeze. So it just takes a little bit of effort to close that. Now obviously it's going to be a little bit tighter once we get the piece across the top up there. So I am considering that, but I think 5/16 of an inch is the right amount of squeeze. And what I did is I just used a 5/16 diameter apex screwdriver bit as a measuring tool. Okay. So it's got a nice sound and a nice feel to it. I like that it's a little resistant. The weight of the glass is going to help. Yeah, that seems to be just about right. Again, it is going to soften up over time a little bit, but so what we're looking at here is how much squeeze are we giving this thing. So it's at 5/16, it's touching itself. So I'm trying to get back on the bus again. Since the weather's turning crappy, I went and brought in my paint primer test sample. And it's not really hard dry, but it was dry enough to sand. And what I was testing was when I sand through the edge, does it want to roll up or is it really sticking? And it's great. So we're going to use this automobile primer. Where'd it go? It's not down there. Oh, right there. When it comes time to paint that door jamb. Alright, that's going to sit right there for a while. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to cut some 5/16 strips of wood out of something. Maybe I'll use this thing. And that'll be my tool for gauging where the doorstop has to go and leave just the right amount of gap for the seals. So in order to get that done, I had to do a little more cleaning up. I have no idea why these Allen head set screws are here. And this is just another one of those things that it's a door eyeball thing where you peek through the hole there to try to see who's on the other side. I don't know. I had that thing for when my father was working as a carpenter. He brought that home. That was some leftover piece. So this I've had for probably 30 years, kicking it around in my garage, only because it's just too nice of a nicely made of a widget. Brass threaded freaking thing. I can't get rid of it. So the pile of crap on top of my toolbox is building up. Alright, so let's get this cleaned off and start making some wood strips. Would you look at that? The wifey's going to go for a tea party today, and she made a whole bunch of these really nice sandwiches. And I get the crusts. Okay, so here we are. I got the gap set to 5/16 of an inch. with this piece of wood. I got down as far as to like where the doorknob is. Okay. So now I want to see. I have a feeling what's going on right here is, where'd you go? Yeah, I'm going to be removing so much wood from here that there's pretty much nothing left beyond this except the notch. So what I need to do is put a pencil mark on the back side of this so I could scribe where that is. And so what I need is a little pencil, like a 90-degree pencil. If I only had a 90-degree pencil, like that. Cute, huh? All right, so we're gonna take this and we're gonna scribe a mark all the way down. Oh, it's gonna be all right. I mean, is it ideal? Not exactly, but so this piece here is going to be removed, and it leaves me with about, I don't know, 9/16 of an inch of a flat area, and this is the area that the door seal plugs into. So knowing this is good. This kind of sets the stage where my line of screws is going to go. I have to decide, you know, the screws are going to be visible, so do I follow this outer edge or do I follow the door? I think I'll follow the outer edge because I'm going to have screws on the top as well and also on the left, and at least there'll be something consistent, right? So I'm kind of getting this thing figured out. I guess I need to cut this first, right? So I'll be able to determine how far in to drill for my screws. All right, so I'm over here trying to figure out if we go around, I don't know, 2.5 inches from the top to give us room. Our screw is going to have to go from there to here somewhere. Of course. Oh, I hear the rain. Yeah. All right, disregard the roach down there. So really all I'm looking for is that the shank of the screw does not break that edge right there. So I can pretty much set the screw right around there, which would be, how far from the edge would that be? About 400 thousandths. So here's the screws I bought. They're I don't know what you call them, rounded head. They're not flat heads, they're a little rounded. So I thought, you know, to give it a little character, right? Whatever. They're number 8. So we're measuring the screw without the threads to 118 thousandths of an inch. Okay. So I just happen to have 118 thousandths of an inch drill bit in my drill jig from the last time I was drilling stuff. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put one screw in this to hold the top in position, so that'll help me to align it for all the rest of the work I've got to do, such as scribing my line and drilling holes. All right, we got our first screw in, and it's not countersunk, it's just screwed in. It's a little close to the edge of this, but it's fine. It's closer than I'd like, but it's okay. You know, it's the best as it's going to get. So when I close the door now, without the seal, and let it come back beyond where it needs to go until I'm touching right here, right? That's all I need to do is position this so it just touches the door, clamp it, and drill it. Or I guess at this stage, clamp it and scribe the pencil line on the back, then I can cut it. Then I'll come back and drill it. All right, we got our line. So now we're going to have to set up to make a tapered cut on a table saw. And due to the nature of the scribe, we want to remove the line with our cut. I'm getting ready to make my tapered cut here on the table saw. And ideally, what I would like would be a sheet of plywood and to lay the plywood down here up against the fence, like say it was this wide, right? And put my board that I want to make the tapered cut on top of the plywood, and probably start on this end. So let that go up to the edge of the plywood and put a nail in it so it can't move, but it can still pivot, right? And then go to the other end, pull it back, and then shift this thing over so the blade lines up with the line, stick a nail in it, set my fence a little bit wider than I want just for safety, run my cut, and then eyeball and see how I'm following the line, and then inch over a fraction at a time until I get exactly what I want. I don't have a piece of plywood. Matter of fact, I don't have anything else except my other piece of trim, and I really didn't want to put holes in it. So something else that's going on is this wood has got a warp to it. I forget which end it is, the bottom side. The bottom few inches, you can see right there. I guess you can't, we're up in the air right there. Let's not push down really hard. So this thing is, the last few feet of this has got a little bit of bend in it, which I can compensate for during the installation by just, you know, forcing it straight and putting my screw in. But in order to make this cut, I'm probably going to have to, if I had a piece of plywood that I could nail this down to, I could force this thing to be straight, because the line has actually got a bow in it too, not just the wood. The line is following this side of the wood because it was straight on the bus when I drew the line, because I had clamped it in place and straightened it out. So I mean, it's not that critical, but it is about a 1/16 of an inch down here at the end, and I'd like to do better than a 1/16 of an inch. So I'm gonna sit and ponder, because there's always doing this thing by hand, which I could cut this by hand. The way I would do this, if I were going to do this by hand, is I would put the thick end, the thick cut, on the other side. Set my saw fence for the thick side, so I could run the whole thing through and it'll be correct here, but incorrect, more incorrect as further you go down the end. And I guess I could show you here. Let me spin it around. This flue is actually killing me here. I just do not feel like working. Okay, so the line right now is on the wrong side. It needs to be this way. All right. And I don't have the luxury of flicking the line over the other side, so what I would do is I would set my saw for roughly the size of the wood, right? Now ignore the line that I have on there because it's bogus at this point. So I would start cutting. There you can see the bow in the wood now. It's touching at the tip, and there's that air gap right there where the blade is, and it's touching at this end. Alright, so what I would do is I would cut this, and then I would drift away from the fence and use the far end as my guide to help keep me straight, and just feed it through and follow the line. I'm really tempted to just do that, except I know what the results are going to be. It's going to be bumpy, and I'm going to want to straighten it, which means get out the block plane and the belt sander. Alright, I just ripped it by hand. So I tried to leave the line. Over here I got right up to the edge of the line. So for the most part, I'm right on the edge of the line. And it's, you know, it's got that human wiggle to it. There's an area over here that I went a little bit too far. And then back up here at the other end, the line is showing again. So let me get the block plane out and straighten it out. Alright. So, just a little bit of a wow down there at the very last foot or so. I don't know if you can see it down there. A little bit of a hollow, about 14 inches from the bottom, but it's very slight. I was able to plane all the high spots off and damn near perfect otherwise. Got a hell of a wow in it this way. But I'm looking at what I got going on here. I could have gone a 1/16 of an inch closer to our rabbit cut, or whatever you call that, which is, I want to round off this corner like this one is. So it's going to be, this edge of the screw is going to be right up against the round off. I'm contemplating filling that hole and making a new one. I could move over another 1/16 of an inch and I'd be happier with the results. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to do that. Before I fill this hole, I'm going to go ahead and install this back on the bus with the screw, because the screw puts it right on the spot. And then I'll drill my new hole. Actually, I'll drill the new hole in this first. And I'll use my drill jig. It's a little bit of a pain, but it gives me a lot better results. And it's a little difficult to get exactly straight in two different directions at once. So if I move that hole over a 1/16 of an inch, it'll put me right on the edge there, which is fine as long as I don't interfere with it, because actually the seal doesn't even go in that far. Let me get a piece of seal and double check what I'm saying. Got a piece in the garbage I just put right here. And this is the new stuff. Yeah, so if the seal is all the way in, where'd you go? seals all the way in. I still got a 1/16 of an inch of space. So yeah, okay. That's what I'll do. I'll move it over just a little bit. The hole in the door jamb, I don't have to close it off because it's going to be covered by this. All I have to do is cover this up, and that's easy enough to do. All right, man. We're in there. I got a little bit to plane off right here. Just a little bit of a bump right there. I gotta tell you, I cheated a little bit on this. As I brought the plane in here and I was planing it to get it even. Then I hit it with the belt sander to get some of the roughness out, and went over it with the router, rounded off the edge, and it's looking great. And for now, I've got just this one piece I took out of the garbage just to hold the door for me. So if you're interested, so I can zoom in there so you can see how much squeeze there is. Honestly, I could feel it bunching up right there. And it just caught. So with just that little piece, there's not that much resistance, and actually right there it just went too far. The other little pin in the this little guy went past. Alright, but with the full length of it, there's enough resistance, it keeps the door tighter than that. So now we're moving on to the top piece. I've already marked it, and I guess I'll just freehand this one too. The other one came out okay. I actually kind of goofed on it a little bit, but because of the way I scribed it, it gave me a little bit of safety margin, and it worked out just fine. So let me go ahead and give this a cut, and hopefully this will come out just as good. And we'll get this thing cut, we'll double check our fit, come back in here and drill our holes, smooth off the edge, and then round off the corner. All right, Jesus, clock says 4 o'clock. I don't know if I've updated that since daylight savings time, so it might be just 3. My ass is beat. So this is it, man. We're gonna try closing this door for the very first time live. See how it goes. First lightly. Oh yeah. It just stopped right there. Oh. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. See how the hinge side, it slides in. It doesn't squeeze in, it slides in. This side just smashes in, and that's the reason why I went with this door seal type, because this stuff is slick and it'll allow this to slide. If I used a neoprene type gasket, or a bulb seal, which is like a sticky rubber, instead of allowing the door to slip on it, it would push it and distort it. That's perfect. Perfect. Couldn't ask for better. Damn near airtight. Okay. It's got a good feel to it. Alright. Now the bottom seal. I don't know if I've got the energy to do this today, but I already bought it. It's going to be different stuff. Right here. It's like a brush. All right. I don't think I didn't open it yet. All right. So the idea with this, I'm going to put this, well, I was thinking about putting it on the inside anyway, because here's the thing. You know, in all reality, water is going to be going into that groove because I've got nothing to seal it. It's sealed on the other side. It's the same on this side too. And I don't know what kind of driving through the rain, swirls of air, kind of a blast of hurricane force winds am I going to get on this door. So I'm not doing anything else to the front of this for now anyway, until I know I've got a problem. So on the inside, down there, I kind of can't show you. This thing is gonna go on the bottom of the door like this, and it's gonna rest on my first step. So, got a little bit of a challenge with this. I cut a piece off, and this is really loose in there, but I think it's not going to be an issue. Oopsie. During the length of the long piece, because just a slight bit of deviation in the shape of this thing, and it's going to be tight in there. And it was kind of tight coming out. I just put a little bit of a bend in it, not enough. All right, so here's the challenge. I'm looking down in the step well through the window that ain't there. The bristles are longer. I can't get this thing to focus. All right, so by quite a bit. And I knew they were when I bought it because I tried finding a brush with shorter bristles and I couldn't. So, I want the top edge of this door sweep to be equal with the top edge of that aluminum channel. Alright, so if I do that, it'll close and it looks fine. Okay, but when you go to open it, it backs the bristles up and it's going to bend the crap out of them. Plus, I'm going to put some no-skid tape on this, and the most important area is going to be right on the edge, so we don't slip and fall by stepping too close to the edge. So we need these bristles to be, you know, close to straight up and down as they come in, so it can back up. At this moment, I think I'm gonna cut this thing, and it'll end up making these holes just slots, which I think I'm okay with. I just don't know yet. I gotta sit on this for a while. I don't think I want to try to cut the bristles. I mean, a scissor would be the only thing that I think would do a good job, and then I'm not gonna be able to get it straight. And then, you know, I want this thing to be doing its job down there, right? So I'm not gonna do anything for a while on this, because maybe I won't even use it. Maybe I'll find something else. I thought about using bulb seal weather strip bulb seal that looks something like this, but instead of having a brush here, it's got like a little rubber bulb, gray colored plastic. You've probably seen them, and they're designed actually to go on your door right here, so when your door comes and closes, the bulb will touch the door. All right, so I'm gonna, like I say, not do anything. I'm just gonna pick up. This flu's kicked my butt. I've got no energy. It really is after 4 o'clock, so I've been out here. How long have I been out here? Probably about 6 hours. And that's a lot for a guy that just got over the flu. Alright, so I'm calling it a day.